Today's challenge is to write, record, produce, and mix a song from scratch in 24 hours. Seems ridiculous. Not sure I can do it, but we're going to see how far I can get. All right, if you've watched my channel at all, you know this is a pretty wild departure from what I normally do here, but I've been having a lot of fun getting back into not just playing drums, but other instruments and working on the craft of recording, and thought it'd be fun to give this a try. So 24 hours, we'll see what we get. All right, first things first, we need to actually write this tune. So I'm going to use this app that I've downloaded and been using the last couple of days. It's called Demo. It's a great little songwriting app. I've already got in here a verse part, a pre-chorus, and a chorus. These are just some things that I threw together using the app this morning as I was playing around. And so I've got placeholders to get started on the song. Let's listen to what it sounds like, each of these parts. So here's the verse. And then we'll do a pre-chorus. It's going to sound a little something like this. And then our chorus is going to sound a little here like this. There's that 3 minor chord. So nothing too crazy here. These are just some chords that I quickly threw together before I drove to Starbucks so that I could listen to them in the app and start coming up with some melody ideas. So got some basic ideas. Going to jump over here to the lyrics section and go ahead and start writing a song.
All right, about 45 minutes in, me and the dogs are running to grab some lunch. I got the chords loaded in. I got a chorus written that it's not going to win any Grammys, but again, done is better than perfect, so it'll work. I'm going to listen to this thing in the car and try and come up with some words for verses and pre-chorus. I got melody ideas, I think, so hopefully this won't take too long. What do you think, Copper? He's not impressed. We'll see.
We are about 2.5 hours in, and I have a basic song put together. This is clearly a pop song, very much, I think, in sort of a Taylor Swift style, I would say. If this were a meal, it would not be a steak. It would not be health food. It wouldn't be cotton candy. It would be mac and cheese. There is definitely some cheese to it, but hopefully the appropriate amount of cheese for a nice pop song. So nothing too heady, but I think there's something here. So I'll give you sort of the parts, and then the next step is to go start creating some sort of scratch tracks and start adding actual parts, recording real parts to it. And this is where the song really starts to take shape for me. So verse, a little something like this. Humpty Dumpty on a wall, waiting for my turn to fall. Sure looks like a long ways down. Nurses are all gathered round. Heartbreak always draws a crowd. Can't put me back together now. Bridge part, a little something like this. This is why you don't do a sing-along. They'll only blame you in a song. Nice and simple little, sorry, not bridge, that's really more pre-chorus, I think. And then the chorus goes a little something like this. Always knew you wouldn't stay. Tried to force it anyway. Tried to find some sort of jump start. But in the end, I think I only broke my own heart. Progress. All right, we're about 4.5 hours in at this point. So taking a little break to get outside with the dogs a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about where we're at. So we have a song and it's not terrible. Again, it's meant to be a pop song. So it's, lyrically, it's pop song-esque. It is obviously not autobiographical. I kind of hear it as being sung more by a female part, and so the lyrics probably fit better with a female singer. So to be clear, I'm going to do all the parts on this. I will record a vocal track, but it will be an AI vocal track in the end. So there's a chance we'll make this a female track. But this is the one of the challenging parts for me in writing a song. I'm not going to lie. There was a little bit where I was thinking, maybe we just scrap this project. Wasn't loving it. And this is sort of that stage. It just sounds terrible when you got scratch tracks down. It sounds like this will never be anything good that I'll be proud of. And I have to remind myself that's what stage we're in right now. So I know it gets better from here, and this is really the fun part where it really starts taking shape. All right, so we got some scratch tracks laid down. Um, these sound terrible. They're just placeholders. They will not be in the final, but here's what things roughly sound like at this point.
Humpty Dumpty on the wall, waiting for my turn to fall. Sure seems like a long ways down.
Great, and here's the pre-chorus.
This is why you don't do a singer wrong. They'll only go and blame you in a song. Always knew you wouldn't stay. Tried to force it anyway.
Okay, so I think you can see why this part is always frustrating. You lay it down and you go, God, that sounds terrible. But this is just placeholder, so we can get going on the real thing.
Only broke my own heart. Song. Always knew you wouldn't stay. Tried to force it anyway.
It is just shy of 10 p.m. So we've been another hour and a half. We'll have been at it for 12 hours. The only remaining piece is, the vocals, just that. So yeah, that's what's next. This is going to take a little bit, but I'm hoping I can get it wrapped up this evening. A little bit to do here. I got to get it all recorded. I do a bunch of takes. I comp them all together into one that I really like, and then send it to AI and come back with a voice that actually sounds good. So this is a fun and challenging part of the process. But all in all, for a song that I was not written less than 12 hours ago, did not exist less than 12 hours ago, pretty happy with how it's coming along so far. All right, off to do some singing.
This is why you don't do a singer wrong. They'll go and call you out in a pop song.
As you can see from the timestamp, it was pretty late at this point when I started mixing and totally forgot to record any of it. So
This is a couple days later, and I'm going to go back and I want to walk through sort of the mixing process that I did, talk about some of the choices I made, and then yeah, then we'll go on to hearing the completed song. Let's listen to what just the drums sound like. Great. So you can hear a couple things there. One big sort of rock sounding drums, pop sounding. You can also hear I've got a few layers in there. I've got a shaker, I've got a tambourine. But let's really quick, let's turn off a bunch of this processing and just hear what the raw drums sounded like. Not bad, but not as good as they could be. So just sort of walking through what I've got here. I've got two kick mics, one inside the kick, one outside. Next, I have my snare. So I actually have a snare bus here where I've got three different snare things going on. I've got my snare top channel, I've got my snare bottom, and then I've got some samples that I'm layering in there. Again, nothing too crazy going on, just some EQ, some compression, and some little bit of saturation. Two tom channels, some hats, some overheads. Nothing crazy going on here, just a little bit of low cut, just trying to really just focus on the high end on those. And then I have a room mic. This is a ribbon mic, and I really like the way that this mic sounds. Here, we'll listen to just that really quick. Like I said, I got a shaker and a tambourine, and then I got my parallel compression bus. So again, sending the kick and the snare and the room mic to that. And then lastly, I've got a little bit of reverb going on here. I've got some long reverb, which I'm using uh, the what is this? The Quantec. Using about a 1.25 second reverb on that. And let's see, let's just hear what it sounds like. Again, I'm sending the snare drum and the room to that, and the toms, a few different things. And then I also have this short delay, um, and this is really only the snare drum is being sent to this, and I'm using the snare chamber setting. And again, this is not so much about the reverb; it does some widening to it. So if we listen to what just that sounds like, so there it is without it, and there it is with it, and you can hear it just spreads the sound out. It widens it. So little trick I learned somewhere on YouTube. I love the sound of it. I do it every time now. I think that's probably everything that's interesting on the drums. Let's move on to the guitars. Not a lot of guitars in this. We've got my acoustic guitars. So I think you saw the recording of that in laying down the tracks. I actually did. So with all these things, especially the guitars, I do multiple takes and I comp them together because I'm not a guitarist. I can fake my way through it, but I'm not fantastic or flawless. So each one of these are a handful. And then I take two. I do a left side and a right side, so it's usually a couple takes on the left side, couple takes on the right side, comp it all together and quantize it. Is quantizing cheating? I felt so. I felt like so for so long, and then I watched a video of Aaron Sterling recently, who's a drummer I absolutely adore. Incredible, plays on everybody's stuff. I think he's on Taylor Swift and Chapel Roan and Post Malone and big names you've heard of. And I heard him talking about it. He's like, "Yeah, I just quantize. I assume everyone's going to want it." So if he's quantizing and he's okay with it because that's just the sound right now, who am I to disagree? So drums are quantized. All of the parts are quantized. There's maybe one or two layers where I didn't. I think the shaker I didn't because I wanted it. It felt a little too stiff, but I think pretty much everything else and the vocals. No, that's not true. I did some. They're not quantized, but they did. They are moved around a little bit at a few points. So again, this is what modern music is, and this is how we do it. So yeah. Anyhow, back to the acoustic guitars. I've got a left, a right. They're comped together to get a best take. They are quantized, and here's what they sound like. All right, so that's kind of the whole song is that style. It's just dun 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 eighth notes. It gives a little bit of forward momentum. Again, these aren't super upfront. There, you can hear them. They're one of those like if you take them away, you'll immediately miss them, but they maybe don't stand out as the main thing. Um, kind of wish that they were a little bit more forward, but I'm going to live with it again. Trying to done is better than perfect. So, um, then I have a lead part. And this is the part I mentioned. I actually added this later. I haven't talked about this yet. I think it comes up in the video in just a minute. But after I listened to it a few times the next day, I felt like there was just a little bit missing, and so I added this lead part. So pretty easy, just kind of arpeggiating some chords. Does another little sort of picky thing here during the second verse, just to give a little slightly different flavor in the second verse. Um, Again, about as simple gets for the electric guitar part. I did throw the pedal board on here, and I added tremolo. I'm doing this all the time on the lead guitar part. And then I've got some bridge guitar parts. Let's see, we'll go do these in opposite order. I've got some dirt parts. Again, pretty standard trick for me here. Me and everyone. I did not invent this. Just during the choruses, there is some distorted guitar. Again, it's in the background. It's not super prominent. Just some simple power chords there, just filling out that bottom end and making it nice and fat in the choruses. And then similarly in the bridge, not quite the same thing, but the same general idea. I've got these. So just kind of a fat, dirty sound. Again, it doesn't immediately stand out. You don't listen to it and go, wow, distorted guitars. It's in the background. It's just that saturation that it adds to the sort of low mids, just makes it sound bigger. Again, with all these, I'm doubling them. There's a left side and a right side. Those are separate takes. Sometimes I hear people ask, well, can't I just do one and just put it on two different channels and put one on the left and the right? You can't. That ends up being the exact same thing. It doesn't do anything if you do it. So it does have to be separate takes. But again, the separate takes just give it a little bit more fatness and really push those out to the side, so that you get that stereo wide sound, and leave a nice clear track down the middle for the lead parts like the vocals. Um, I'm really big into this hard panning. Other than maybe I think the shaker and the tambourine, anything that's panned is panned all the way. Again, nothing I came up with, tricks I learned on YouTube, but it really does go a long ways for leaving the middle really clear to really make room for things like the vocals. So those are my guitars. My keys, I got a couple things going on. So I've got a piano that's just kind of played all throughout. Again, I'm not a piano player. Was forced to take piano lessons from kindergarten through junior high. Hated every minute of it. Um, and now here we are, and I'm putting it in song. So thanks, Mom. You were right. So here's kind of the idea of what the piano is. I did multiple takes here. It's all MIDI, so the great part is like it's super easy to fix wrong notes and take sections and paste them together, take the best take. So I think maybe I did three full run throughs of the whole tune and sort of took the best parts of each of them. I've got this synth part. It's only on the intro and then the short little 4 bar or 8 bar instrumental between or going into the second verse. Um, but yeah, I talked about this a little bit earlier in the video and thinking about did I really want to try and do a sync thing? Again, I'm not a keyboard player and I don't mess around with synths a lot. So wasn't sure if this was the best use of my time, but was really happy that I did this because I loved the way that this came out. So this is just a little lead part. It's roughly mimicking what the chorus melody is. Um, but yeah, it's just this really retro, gross sounding synth that's super harsh, but in the context of everything, I really liked it. So here's what that sounds like. And I love that scooping that it does in there. In fact, there's this really cool part at the intro. I'll talk about the intro at the end. I literally added it at the last second, but I hit this note at the beginning. It just does this big scoop, and I love the way it sounded, and so I kind of turned that into the intro. So let's see. I love that. So that's the beginning. Again, it's one other only happens one other time, right at this between the chorus and the verse. And what's interesting here um, is that this is the same little melody. It's the chorus part, but it's actually played over the verses chords because I'd recorded already the whole song when I got to this point and decided I wanted something in this gap and decided, well, I should just do the same thing. It kind of brings it back and just tried it to see if it would work over the chords, and it did. It totally worked. This part actually, I think, is even just a copy and paste from the intro part. The other thing that's interesting here is I doubled it. I matched it with the piano, so it's not quite as harsh. So you can hear, and I did that in both places. But so again, together, it kind of takes a little bit of the edge off of it. That retro synth is still there. It still cuts through. It's, you can definitely hear it, but it makes it sound a little less space aged or something. So that's what I have there. And then the other part I have. Let's see, I've got this one is another synth, and this one plays through the choruses and the bridge. And again, really like the way that this sound came out. It's not a steady note. There's that pulsing to it. It gives the whole thing a little bit more movement. Um, it's a little bit tucked back. It definitely stands out. This one you would definitely notice if it wasn't there. And on the bridge, I have this set of diff part. But again, gives it a nice sort of modern pop sort of sound. This sort of 80s sounding synth is, all over the place right now. And yeah, just really liked the way that that synth sounded. Um, then lastly, I've got this one other little part here. It only happens in a couple spaces. It's in the intro and then it's in these two pre-choruses. And this is actually just doubled. It's the same MIDI. I copied it down and just to give it two different sounds. And so and these are just pads sort of sitting underneath. So really big, really epic, and they're really nice here in the pre-chorus, especially this first one, because this kind of everything drops out, and you just got just this part, and the way that that synth sort of opens up, right? The volume gets louder, right? It crescendos. Works really well with the words, and so you kind of get this interplay between the lyrics and then this sort of swelling thing. So we'll listen to what that sounds like really quick.
This is why you don't do a singer wrong. He'll go and call you out in a pop.
So again, just a little piece that's in there. I actually had this in a lot more of the song. And at the very end, I sort of like to go back and kind of pull different pieces out. And like I said, I mentioned a couple times, do you miss them if they're not there? And this one I actually pulled out of a bunch of places and I didn't miss it. I think those distorted guitars that I added are sort of in the same spot, those sort of low mid sound. And you just didn't even hear that it was missing. And so better to declutter, gets rid of some of the mud. Um, no reason to have layers if you can't even notice a difference. So that's everything that we have in the keys section. Lastly, we have the bass section. Not lastly, we're going to the vocals last. Nothing too exciting here. There's an electric bass part that I played. Pretty straightforward. Same thing, played the whole song through a couple times, comped it together, and then uh, uh, and then quantized it. And then I did add a synth bass layer again in the choruses and in the bridge and the intro. And you'll see that these are doubled. It's octaves. They're just playing the roots. There's nothing crazy going on, but it just really, really fattens it out, especially this really low octave. It just makes the thing sound really big at those sections. So here's what that sounds like. Makes for whatever reason that makes me think of like the big old pipe organ we used to have in the Baptist church I grew up in, and they'd hit those low notes and the whole thing would rumble. The only other thing that I have in here besides the vocals is just this one little
sound effect that's right at the very beginning. Um, I think it's like a boiler room or something. I forget. But again, kind of sits around everything. It's actually the very first thing you hear, and then you get these sort of layers of synths that come in over it, and it just gave it this sort of sense of build. In fact, let me zoom in a little bit so you can see exactly what this looks like. Um, you got this room tone for just a moment, and then you got those sawtooths, those pads that come in, and then you've got a little bit more that comes in, and then you hit that one high scooping note that I mentioned. So here's what this little this is everything that's in the intro is these four parts, and then the drums play the pickup. So that is everything except for the vocals. Let's talk about the vocals. This is interesting. So, got a few things going on here. But first, let's talk about the main thing, which is I think I mentioned these are AI voices. I talked about it. Obviously, when you listen to it, this is not my voice.
Humpty Dumpty on the wall, waiting for my turn to fall.
It actually sounds shockingly like my daughter, but is not. This is an AI voice. So here's what I did, and I think this is really fascinating and crazy cool. Uh, I recorded a part. This is unbelievably high for me. I'm in my falsetto quite a bit, and it sounds just god awful. But here's me singing this part.
Humpty Dumpty on the wall, waiting for my turn to fall. Seems like a long ways down.
All right, this is a bajillion takes come together to get something that was okay, and then have lots of effect in it. Right, ran it through a compressor, really squeezed the sound down, and ran it through Melodyne, and so auto tuned it and time aligned it, fixed a few things up. So I really got this in. This is only sort of bad. The original raw takes are terrible, unlistenable. But I got it to this point, and then I sent it to. I used this kits.ai. I grabbed two of them that I liked the best and downloaded them and put them in, and then listened to them in context. And I think this female Velvet Air was the one I ended up with.
Nurses are all gathered round.
It's super
Heartbreak
believable.
always draws a crowd. Can't put
Now, I imported that back in, and interestingly, it was still not in tune. Even AI can't sing in tune. It was pretty good, but I ran it through Melodyne and I did some more corrections and fixed some things. Um, and then again, ran it through a compressor. Everything that I would do on a normal vocal, I did again here. I wasn't sure if it was going to be needed, but I felt like it improved things a little bit. So added that. I added a male vocal for a harmony at the end. Again, just for this last chorus, wanted it to be a little different. So this one is me. It is, nothing crazy going on here, but it's just an octave down where I can actually reach the notes. It sounds like this.
Tried to force it anyway.
Probably should have auto-tuned
trying to
it.
find some way to jumpstart.
Lots of things I'd like to fix in here. There's a little pop that happens in the first verse that drives me crazy. I will go back and fix all those things as an exercise for myself. But for sake of this project, I wanted to sort of show you what I had at the end of my roughly 24 hours.
All right. It is about 2:30 in the morning, but I got something I'm pretty happy with. So still got a little bit more to do, a little bit of polish. I need to listen to it in the morning with some fresh ears. I got to put it in the car and do the car test because tell you what, things sound great until you put them in your car and then you're like, what the heck? So got to go to bed so I can get up, listen in the car, make some tweaks, and hit my 24-hour goal. But so far, pretty dang happy with how this is coming out. All right, next morning, made my Starbucks coffee run and listened to it in the car, and it actually sounds pretty dang good. I'm pretty happy with where it's at. Normally that first car ride run, it just sounds terrible. Somehow there's something about car speakers that just bring out a totally different sonic quality, but all in all, this was good. Yeah, in fact, there's a few things I want to add. There's a synth part that I don't love the sound of. I'm going to do some tweaking there.
I'd love to add some harmonies. We'll see if I have enough time, some vocal harmonies. And I think it does need an electric guitar part. I wasn't going to add one. Well, there's a little bit of background distortion, but sort of a more upfront guitar part. But think it needs it in a couple spots, and we'll fill out sort of the rest of the sonic profile real nice. What else? A couple tweaks here and there. But yeah, pretty happy with how it's coming out. I'm gonna go try and wrap it up before we hit 11:30, which would make 24 hours. So we'll see. Fingers crossed.
Humpty Dumpty on the wall, waiting for my turn to fall. Seems like a long ways down. Nurses are all gathered round. Heartbreak always draws a crowd. Can't put me back together now. This is why you don't do a singer wrong. They'll go and call you out in a pop song. Always knew you wouldn't stay. Tried to force it anyway. Tried to find some way to jumpstart. But in the end, I think I only broke my own heart. Staring at my telephone, humming with a dial tone. Ain't called me back for 16 days. Told me that you need some time, that you'd take yours and I'd take mine. Well, waiting here will I lose my mind. This is why you don't do a singer wrong. They'll go and call you out in a pop song. Always knew you wouldn't stay. Tried to force it anyway. Tried to find some way to jumpstart. But in the end, I think I only broke my own heart. You won't be coming round. You won't be round again. You won't be coming round. You won't be round again. You won't be coming round. You won't be round again. You won't be coming round. You won't be round again. Always knew you wouldn't stay. Tried to force it anyway. Tried to find some way to jumpstart. But in the end, I think I only broke my own heart. Always knew you wouldn't stay. Tried to force it anyway. Tried to find some way to jumpstart. But in the end, I think I only broke my own heart.
All right, some closing thoughts. Did I achieve my goal? Did I write, record, produce, mix an entire song in 24 hours? Darn near. I think I was maybe 26 hours total all in. Super happy with that. It was a fun experiment. Loved the project. Am I going to sell the song for $1 million? Is it the best thing ever? Of course not. Do I like the song? I totally do. I think there's some really good parts in here, and I'm really happy with how it came out. There's probably a dozen things that are sort of feel like low-hanging fruit I could go improve quickly and easily if I gave myself more time, but I guarantee you if I spent a few more hours and tweaked those dozen things, I'd hear a dozen more that I want to change as well. So again, the point here wasn't perfection. It was, can I do it what happens if I put a time constraint on myself and sort of force myself into that. I'm really happy with it. There's some lyrics that are terrible and I hate. There's some lyrics that I'm really happy with. The chords changed. I don't know if you noticed that, but the chords I started with at the beginning were not what I ended with. Same with some of the lyrics. There's some melody parts here that I really like. I think that pre-chorus is fantastic. I love the sort of self-awareness of the lyric there. I think the melody in the chorus is good. I think that that third line where the melody goes a little bit higher is a really nice hook. And I love the way that it ends with the sort of hook of the "I think I broke my own heart." I think that's a totally sellable pop lyrics and pop song title. So what do you think? Do you like the tune? Do you hate the tune? Do you like this type of video content? Do you want to see more like this? I'll definitely go back to recording drum covers as well. But if you want to see more of this type of thing or anything else, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, thanks a ton, YouTube. See you next time.